If you're like me, you probably have some art in your house. Maybe something abstract. Maybe some knickknacks on a mantelpiece. Maybe some photos of your family. Maybe even a paint by number that you did during a pandemic lockdown. But what you need is the coolest thing ever, which is a WhisperFrame. A WhisperFrame listens to the conversation in the room and changes based on what's being talked about. Sometimes you're talking about Twitter, X, and their giant metal sign on their roof. Sometimes you're talking about going to the gym and working out. And sometimes, but maybe only sometimes, you just need a picture of two guys looking out a window at a moose.
Wait, what did you say this was? It's a WhisperFrame. It listens to conversation in the room and then uses AI to generate an image about that conversation.
From a software perspective, we want to listen, transcribe, feed that transcription into an AI, which will generate an image prompt, which we'll send to an image generator, which we want to put on the screen. Should be pretty easy. Let's get coding. Having a project that lives in the living room means that you gotta move stuff out of the way to get working. But it also means you get to code from the couch. I happen to have a Raspberry Pi laying around that had a ReSpeaker 4-mic array on it. So that's what I used. Listen, check. For transcribe, we want to take an audio recording, send it to the OpenAI Whisper API, get a transcript back, and save it so we can use it later. Then repeat this process so we can get chunks of the conversation. Transcribe, check.
The next step is to take the transcript and send it off to GPT-4. But we can't just send it a transcript, we need a prompt to tell it what to do. So at first I tried just summarizing the transcript, but that yielded some prompts that the image generator couldn't really handle. They were too abstract and too messy. So I settled on extracting a single topic from the conversation and generating a prompt about that. The final prompt didn't end up too big, but we did end up leveraging few-shot learning in order to give it examples to go off of. AI, check. Prompt, check.
For image generation, I kind of think Midjourney is the state of the art here. But they don't have an API. Their only interface is via Discord of all things.
So if there's any Midjourney people watching and they want to hook us up to try this out, I'm just saying.
So instead, I used Stable Diffusion. There are several different hosting platforms out there. We just picked one. Generate, check. We're using a Samsung frame here. My housemate Danny, who originally cooked up this idea, bought one, and then we put it on the wall, and I thought this might be a fun weekend or afternoon project. Screen, check. Now it's time for a little integration.
Have you not tested it? Oops.
Already, it's doing some pretty cool things. Take this one, for example, that appeared while we were talking about how to cook a chicken on a beer can on a grill. This picture is so good. It's not a raw chicken, but it did manage both a chicken and a can of beer. The chicken is kind of weird. It's like a hawk and a chicken hybrid. There's some weird chicken photos going on in the background, and there's this weird lighting thing where the cabinet looks like it's warped, but the can of beer does say raw on it. Sometimes it could draw really good coffee. Other times, less so. This is one of my favorites. The Key to Hell appeared while we were reading Neil Gaiman's Sandman out loud in the living room. One of the things that causes people to talk the most about it is its inability to draw things, or its ability to draw things in a strange way. For example, when it tries to draw arms, like this, or like this, or like in this one where it just can't decide if this person is leaning on their arm or using their arm. It was mostly working at this point, but there was this one thing. We were recording for 15 seconds, then transcribing, then recording again. And sometimes we would just get nothing, just ambient noise because there was no one in the room talking. But the transcription wasn't empty. There were several variations on this, but they all roughly translate into, "Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe." Exactly what was the Whisper model trained on? And how do we fix this? After evaluating some different options for transcriptions, I found Pico Voice's Cobra Voice Activity Detection. This gives you a probability that there is a voice present in the audio stream, which is exactly what we want. Now we just need to hook this up to our listen transcribe loop so that we only listen if there's a human voice present in the audio stream. And bang, listen transcribe, check again. I really like the way this one turned out. It's not perfect, but it really did capture, I think, the essence of the prompt. This is a great example of it being able to draw a couch very accurately and doing a pretty good job on the cat. Not perfect, but I do kind of love the leg tail. This tree, I love this tree so much. It just fell a little bit short of the prompt. I wish that there had been real symbolic elements hanging from the branches instead of just colors. This one got drawn while LK99 was being a thing, and I think it ended up being pretty good. An abstract sketch of LK99. I don't know what the heat death of the universe will look like, but I'm happy with this depiction. This one cracks me up so much. We were eating pancakes and talking about superheroes when this got drawn, and I love that it can never make up its mind on exactly what superhero it's drawing. And every once in a while, it draws one like this that I really want to be real. Can I have this chocolate dragon, please?
As you can see, the prompt is really interesting and almost as important as the image itself. And it turns out that people really wanted to know what the prompt was. I figured this thing's art, and art has a sign, so let's make one. I had an old mag tag laying around from a different project, so let's just make a quick case for it, and now it'll have a sign.
Wait, how am I going to get the prompt from the Raspberry Pi to the mag tag? Ah yes, an MQTT broker in the form of Adafruit.io. Now when the image changes on the screen, so does the prompt on the sign. And of course it's art, so I needed an artist's name, so the AI generates one of those too. As a side effect, I was able to have a public website I could send to friends so they could see what was in our living room.
This thing is amazing. It just sits there in the living room, listening to conversation and drawing art. Guests love it. Whenever people come over, they're always looking over their shoulder to see what it's going to draw next. It's not always perfect though. Sometimes when you talk about bikes, it draws trains. Of course, it can't draw bikes very well either. This might be my favorite one. After we went to see Oppenheimer, we were sitting around the living room talking about it, and it started drawing things.
A picture of Einstein, a sketch of Oppenheimer, a drawing of Oppenheimer and Heisenberg, who might all be the same person in this picture, and then it drew this. This is such a good image. Every time I look at this, I see something new, from that collar to that foot hand in addition to the feet, and where are his legs going? It's such a good photo. What's really funny is that later, while watching a Veritasium about nuclear weapon disarmament, it drew this. And so GPT-4 generating the prompt seems to have some connection between nuclear energy and bronze.
I've really enjoyed building this project. So much so that I built a second one to go in my office. And so many of the images are just very good, and I couldn't include them all here. It does have a small obsession with boobs, but a friend of mine pointed out that so does a lot of art throughout history, so maybe it's not all the AI's fault. I've included a link in the description for you to look at a lot of the photos that it's generated. I have removed some of them. A few of them are still not exactly safe for work, so please use your own discretion. But either way, they're really fun to look at and to talk about. This one made us laugh a lot because it's a host of a podcast recording in his cozy studio, but all that the image generator got out of it was Goya and people. So my friend's son has red hair, and we were talking about how his hair looks like flames sometimes. And so it drew this bust, which is a great bust, but also it couldn't decide whether the hair were the flames or if it was actually supposed to be on fire. When there are teenagers in the house, college admissions is a thing that gets talked about quite a bit, but it just totally missed the mark. Like, a teenager surrounded by admissions brochures. I mean, I guess that could be a college campus, but what is even going on here? As a GIS software developer, I'm glad that it can't really draw maps very well. It actually did a pretty good job at this political map, but it still can't do letters, and so it's really great to see it try to put things on the map. And sometimes it just does weird things, like a person and an animal balanced on a scale. There's not even a person here, it's just two animals, and there's no scale. What is it even thinking? So we watched a YouTube video of these folks playing soccer on bikes, and this is what it got out of it. Unicycles and football.
It just knows that pictures with like lines pointing towards the center with a object of focus is something humans like. Therefore, do something, but it doesn't know what it is.
Okay, last one for you.
Oh my god. My favorite. Unicorn butt face.
We often watch YouTube videos together, like Veritasium or Stuff Made Here, and well, there's always some debate about ads going on in the video, and so this got drawn representing that discussion about ads. So it's weird, and it has like different styles happening, and there's like this Niagara Falls thing in the upper corner, and paint drips on the left, but it's also it's such a good representation of ads. Like, they're just this abstract thing that you can't cope with sometimes. This one makes me laugh because it's supposed to be a sketch, and the image that it made is so good, but the prompt tells it that it's supposed to be using ink and pen. And so instead of using ink and pen, it just put a pen in the drawing, and it totally messes up how great the space shot is. But it's also just such a perfect representation of how the image generator pulls things out of the prompt and doesn't exactly know what it's doing sometimes.